Welcome back to Sub-Zero Hero, the FM21 adventure where we're trying to take a team from the bottom of Norwegian football to the top, using nothing but our own youth intakes. And after the euphoria of last season's promotion, well, something always takes the gloss off it, doesn't it? Apparently, we won the third tier last season with the lowest points total of any team to win that division. But there was some good news towards the end of the season. Our head of youth development got in touch, and it could be that we were bringing through the best youth intake we've had yet. It had the potential to be a real quality crop with good players all over the park. In today's episode, not only are we going to kick off Season 7 with arguably our toughest game of the whole season, but we'll also check in and see whether the head of youth development has delivered on his promises. So let's start with today's fixture. This is why it threatens to be so difficult. We are up against Vålerenga, who last time we were at this level, they got promoted up to the Premier Division, but they only lasted one season before coming back down again. But this is a huge club in Norwegian football, arguably the biggest club from the capital, Oslo. They've got 5 Premier Division titles and 5 Norwegian Cups, so these boys do not mess around, and they have got a huge budget and players that are worth far more than we can possibly field. 1.8 million for their key player. So today is going to be a particularly difficult game for the boys. It always seems that newly promoted teams get drawn against recently relegated teams on the opening day of the season. So it's going to be a tough baptism to those youth players. Shall we have a look at what came through? It threatened to be the best generation yet. I was very excited. They came through and I was grossly underwhelmed, to be honest. The head of youth development singled out a right back that we should keep an eye on. Here he is. Physically, he looks pretty good, although the stamina is not great and he's quite pedestrian as well. His marking is only 6. His teamwork is only 5. His aggression is only 5. I mean, fairly determined is not the worst personality, but I didn't think he was a world beater when he came through. We did have a slightly more exciting centre-half come through. This is Lars Gunnar Lang, who at 6'5", I thought might be another real prospect. But so far, his training has been pretty abject. So Clubber Lang looks like he might be a squad player at best. The head of youth development also alerted us to a quality left winger coming through. Here's Hugo Ryden, again 6'3", physically very good, although again a little bit slow potentially for a winger. Reminds me a little bit of a taller Gerser when Gerser came through. So you can see he can pass, he can cross. He might well make it as a player, we shall see. But again, we weren't absolutely blown away by him. The player that was the best to come through in terms of the attributes was probably Hugo Norum Danielsson. But you'll see by all of those down arrows, this boy is hamstrung by an unambitious personality. He's got determination of 4. Now, when you look at his attributes, he looks like everything you might need to make a decent player out of. Maybe as a striker, if we could improve his finishing. Maybe as a midfielder, although the vision of 2 is not exactly what we're looking for in that midfield. But that personality means that it is going to be a tough order to get anything out of him. Other players of note coming through. There was another midfielder, Kim Herum, who again, if you can improve his physicals and his passing was to improve somewhat, you might have the semblance of a decent midfielder there. But it was not a great bunch. Maybe the player who I think might feature in the first team this season is another midfielder. He's called Martin Duson Ibsen. He's got a resolute personality, which is not too shabby. He's got some weaknesses in his game. I think the number of up arrows he has from how well he's performing in training might mask a few of his deficiencies. He's not very tall and he's got a jumping reach of 3. And when you're playing a 2-man midfield, you might like something a little bit more dominant in the air than that. His aggression is not great for what looks like it's going to be a ball-winning style midfielder, because his passing is only 6 and we are desperate for a central midfielder that can actually pass and create, and we haven't got one again. But mentally he looks pretty good. He's brave enough, determination is great, even the flair is looking pretty good for a central midfielder. The stamina and the teamwork indicate that he'll get around the park. He can dribble a little bit as well. He can even take a free kick for us. And at 15 years old, I think there's a prospect there. But we're going to have to work intensively on that passing if he's going to be useful to us. And if he could grow an inch, maybe 2, improve that jumping reach so he's not so weak in the middle of the park, you never know. I think Ibsen is the one that we have the highest hopes for. But given all of the fanfare that this intake was given by the head of youth development, I'm not sure it is a stellar year, which does actually bring us back to our old head of youth development, somebody we discussed a couple of seasons ago, and all of the comment sections pretty much indicated that he is the guy that we should keep in the job. His professional personality meant that he was bringing through players with pretty good personalities themselves, and the season after we kept him on, well, he brought through the likes of our goalkeeper Pedersen and big tiny Emper up front. But I am starting to question whether old Runa might have run his course again. I mean, the guy's still on an amateur contract, so he's essentially a volunteer. He's 1 and maybe a quarter of a star. We're a professional club now. We have been taking on other members of staff that, well, might be a little bit of a step up from him. Maybe not in their star ratings, but in their attributes. Some of our staff are pretty decent now. So maybe we're thinking it might be time for a head of youth development. Let us know what you might do down in the comments section below. But to our first team squad, and I reckon we should have a look at who we're going to send out today and who has been training well as we bid to develop these Sub-Zero heroes. So let's go through our team for today's game against Vålerenga, and in doing so we can check in on the progress the players have been making in their time at the club. Let's start in goal with a young man that came through last year's youth intake, Bjorn again Pedersen, who this season is going to be outright our first choice keeper. He's already got teams interested in him, but with a value of just 6.5k, I don't think those bids will be enough to tempt the board. He went up 31 attribute points last season, and I'm fairly confident we can hold on to him and carry on developing him this season. In the defence, we're going to have 2 more of our youngsters today. Lars Ole Idoi Hansen went up 19 attribute points last season. That's 44 in total. We still want to get that tackling up a little bit, but he is looking like he is developing into a great central defender for us. Capped at under 19 level. He's also got teams interested in him, but I think we can hold on to him this transfer window too. A player we're a little bit more cautious about keeping is the one that's probably our best player at the club now. Mats Naser, also capped at under 19 level. Much higher value of 44k, and clubs the size of Llama from Sweden are interested in him, which is a little bit concerning, as is the fact that he's not interested in signing a new contract with us. And the fact that he's only got this season and next left on his contract, and I don't want to lose him for free, means that if the board don't sell him from under us, well, if I can't get him to agree a new deal this season, I'm looking to be selling him at the end of it, and he would be a big miss. There's an argument as to whether he might actually step up long term and play in midfield for us, because he's got all the attributes you need for it. But we're very short at right back at the moment, so he's going to continue there for now. Over on the left wing, we've got Auden Sjønesen, who came through with pretty low total attributes, but he improved by 14 more last season, 60 in total, and his raw pace makes him a threat on whichever wing he plays. So he's going to be starting for us today. Ole Christian Jensen, when he first came through as a youngster, came through with the greatest total attributes that we had of any of our players. Others have come through with higher since then, and Jensen's personality means that he's really not developed as well as we'd liked. He went down 4 attribute points last season. He's only gone up 28 in his 4 years at the club. But he's probably as good as we can muster in midfield right now, so he's going to get the nod today. Talking of players that go backwards, Andre Gerser, of course, continues to go backwards. 5 years at the club, went back another 4 attribute points last season, only gone up 15 in total now, but doesn't seem to deter him from playing well. He was our star performer last season. He's going to be our most important player this season, I think. So Gerser gets the nod. Let's go up front. We've got 2 more of our prospects. 2 more, I fear, we're going to have to be fending bids off for. And we're going to be hoping that the board don't take matters into their own hands. This is Hugo Tiny Emper. No club's interested at the moment, but I'm sure it's only a matter of time. He's only been at the club for 1 year. He went up 36 attribute points in that year. We're still mentoring him to try and improve his determination and personality a little bit, but he's training incredibly well, so I think his professionalism attribute must be pretty high. We need goals from Hugo this season. He didn't contribute enough of those last, but we've got high hopes for the big man this season. And then the player who I think, along with Nessa, we could well lose if the board get their way this season, is Jonas Hartfix. He's worth £32,500 now. Went up 17 attributes just in the last year. That's 53 he's gone up in total. Finishing has gone from 5 to 7. I'd like to try and get that up another 1, maybe 2 this season. And then he's looking like a pretty decent marksman. He can play it out on the left for us. We can rotate Sjörnesson up front when we want that raw pace to get behind defences. And Hartfixen can go out and provide a bit of guile over on the left. But today we're going to give Hartfixen the nod. He was our top scorer last season, helped by those 6 goals he got in one of our final games of the year. But they've developed pretty well. Professionalism has helped. But we're going to need all of our professionalism today, because we're going to get out there and we're going to take on a giant of Norwegian football in our first game of the season. Okay, we're underway. This game is going to be a toughie. Vålerenga may have got relegated last season, but I expect them to be right up near the top of the table this campaign. But we are through in the 3rd minute, and Hartfixen strikes one, stings the palm of the keeper, and that was not a bad start. And we're in, and Adoy Hansen has had a little go from a header. That's a bright little start to our campaign at this level. Remember, last time we were at this level, it nearly ended in the sack for us, and ultimately we were relegated. So we've got a job on this season. Emper has nodded one of their corners away for us on the counter. We've got Hartfixen building down the left, and he's in, you know, and Gerser's there, and we've taken an early lead against the big boys. A little bit lucky. I think the assist came from a sliding tackle from one of their players, but that was a nice little counter. Emper, so important on defensive set plays for us. Hartfixen wriggles free. It is a little slide tackle. And Gerser, he trains like absolute horse dung. His attributes aren't even that impressive, but he's got a high consistency trait. And he does not half play well, both creatively and goal scoring, with his finishing of 5. Gets into some good positions. I feel like we're going to pause there, and I think we're going to throw out a shout, and I think we're going to praise them for being a goal up against the big boys. That's helped with the old body language. It's also thrown up a highlight. Is that a positive? It's Gerser again. A second before half-time would be ludicrously optimistic. Nessa's backing up. He's got crossing of 3, and he used it to his full advantage there. And now we're getting counted on a little bit, aren't we? We need to try and win the ball back. Sjörnesson's got pace, but he's decided to run off to the wing rather than make a challenge. He knows best. Of course he does. The big man's up. Here he goes. Here he goes. Oh, he's gone. Oh, I thought that might have been deflected for a corner, but no, it was just a grotesque finish from Hartfixen. He does blow a little bit hot and cold. 6 in one game, and then he'll go 6 without a goal. But 1-0 at half-time is not to be sniffed at, and they've not created too many openings. I'm not fooling myself. I don't think this is a done deal by any stretch, but we'll go and have a word with the boys. Maybe have a look at how tired some of them are, and we'll see you for the second half. Okay, we're underway for the second half. Fitness is not too bad from the boys, as you'd probably expect for the opening day, but all of our pre-match lamenting about Jensen seems to be coming true. He has not played too well at all. We're at the hour mark. No extra highlights, and I'm not entirely disappointed by that. Given the XG, I think we're doing okay, but now we're into the highlights, and we're going to have to get a header clear and counter. Otherwise, it looks like we're under a little bit of pressure. They have got better players than us all over the park. And I'm worried that they are going to get a chance before the end of this game. Although we have got Schoenesen through. He's quick. He's not a great finisher, as he proves by dragging that one wide. But we looked dangerous again. I think we're going to leave it until 80 minutes. And then we're going to drop our mentality, shorten our passing, and maybe throw on a bit of time wasting as well. This looks like we could be in again. And Emperor has got over one and headed it down into the bottom corner. But the highlight continues. Maybe that wasn't even it. We've done a great job of winning it back again. Apart from tiny Emperor, who is 6'7" but not the strongest. And now they're through. And little Bjorn again has saved us there. Okay, that is a little warning shot. We've got some players who are not playing too well. I think it's time to make a couple of little changes just to freshen us up for the final 15. Okay, some fresh legs are on. We could have taken a few players off, to be honest. Not everybody's performing that great. We've also just dropped the tempo down a little bit, although we've not put the time wasting on yet. And we've not lowered our mentality. And we've left ourselves one sub for maybe the last 5 minutes or so of the game. It looks like Vålerenga have stepped it up a little bit. All of these highlights seems to be starting with them on the ball. Oh, and they've rattled the bar. Did Pedersen get a touch on that? Not sure he did. And they're at us again. They really have stepped it up. And we're getting away with it a little bit, aren't we? I think it's time to pause it. I think it's time to go a little bit more conservative. Okay, 10 minutes out is probably a bit early to have pressed all of the buttons, but I've done it. I've brought in a defensive midfielder for one of our strikers as well. And I feel like we're still getting counted on here. We got men back, but are they going to be enough? They are coming forward. They're pretty menacing in this last little stage, aren't they? We've won the ball back. Loveland's would have done a good job. Gerser is, as Gerser does, not quite quick enough down there on the right. He's done a misplaced slide tackle. And this is starting to look pretty ominous. We've got 3 minutes plus injury time. We've dropped the tempo. We've dropped the lines. Why are we even attacking? Goodness me. We've still got 4 back. But we've hurled it straight into the keeper's arms. And they have launched one. What have we got? Nessa bangs one forward. We've kept Schoenesen as the lone striker. Primarily because of his pace, not his finishing. But he's done all right there, hasn't he, from 18 yards out? First goal of the season for him. Look, we've had a good helping hand with both of our goals today. That's disastrous keeping. But Schoenesen is there to take advantage, and I think we might be getting the campaign off to a positive start. And if you look at the XG, we might have got fortunate with the goals, but I think we deserved the win. And we have beaten, away from home no less, what I think is going to be the best team in the division. So that is not a bad start to our campaign at this level. We're going to try and attack teams a lot more this time around than we did 2 years ago. I don't think for 1 second we're going to finish in those top 6 places, but I have got sly aspirations of potentially a mid-table finish. And if we can produce more results like that, well, who knows? Thank you very much for watching this far. And thank you for everybody that's sticking with it and hitting that like button on every episode. We're going to go away, get a little bit of this season done, and we'll see where we are in the table when we come back next time in Sub-Zero Hero.